Hi BookTube, welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie and it's time for a book tag. So for those of us in North America, it's Thanksgiving is right around the corner, so I'm going to do the Thanksgiving book tag. I would love to do Ellie Brooks's The Giving tag, but I always struggle with that, and I don't and of course you want to give, when you're doing these tags, you want to give answers. And some of these questions, even though, and I know it's not that serious and everything, but I struggle with questions like, what would you give, a book you would give to everyone? Because even though, I'm not literally giving a book to everyone, and it's not that serious, but it still bugs me, because I feel like there's not a book you could give to everybody. I mean, maybe some nonfiction books that teach really good, valuable lessons and things about our world and stuff like that, but some of those I have not read yet. So, I think this one's a little easier for me to do. But if you're interested, it's a good tag, especially because it's a tag, the BookTube Giving tag is, donating to charities. So, it's a fun tag, and it's for a good cause, so definitely check out Ellie Brooks's BookTube Giving tag, or book giving tag. I'll find the link to that one as well, and put that in the description box below. Okay, so here we go. So the first question for the Thanksgiving book tag is bread. What book is purely fluff with no real plot line? And I sort of don't agree with this one, but it was the better answer I could come up with than my original answer, which was The Glass Hotel originally, because that's very much a character story, I think. There is a sort of plot, and I think my actual answer the book does have a plot, but I can see where people wouldn't agree, and it does kind of meander a little bit, and that is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, which, when I answer this is a book I absolutely loved, and I also love that it has this. That's I've said this before, one of my big gripes about why I don't like taking off the dust jacket, even though it can be a hassle, is because a lot of times the books are plain underneath. And no, I feel like having a small image or an image that you can barely see engraved into the book doesn't count, because if you can barely see it, what's the point? But this is such a beautiful story, and it's like this young man just is, doing some soul searching and discovers some magic in the world, and it's so beautiful, and it's like a fairy tale. It's just such a beautiful fairy tale with beautiful descriptions. If you love the Night Circus and you haven't read this one, please check it out. Granted, maybe you're just not, what's in this one maybe just doesn't interest you, but I still think you should, if you love the Night Circus, check out her second book, if you haven't yet. So that's my answer for bread, a book that is purely fluff. Okay, so the next question is Turkey. What is the book that makes you want to fall asleep? Which I still have this one, actually. I haven't got rid of it yet. It's in the donation pile, though. And I don't take this one literally. Like, I didn't literally fall asleep in this book, but it was kind of boring a lot. And, I started it, but then it was one of the rare times where I actually started a book I just bought or got from the library, and I ended up deciding I'm not interested. Oh, well, no. Well, actually, no. I will pick up the books from the library and start reading them. But if I buy it, for some reason, I might not read it, and it will be sitting there until I eventually lose interest, and this was one of those rare times when I actually picked up the book and decided to read it. And that is St. Augustine Confessions. And this is basically this guy talking to God, and talking about how his journey to believing in God, and how his struggles with being a good, strong, moral person. And I think a lot of people can relate to this Now, I imagine it definitely is a niche audience, because if you don't believe in God, if you're an atheist, then you might not be, or don't care for a religion, you might not like this book because that's the particular classic. If you ever come across it, because it's very talking to God heavy, and it's a beautiful, concept, this person talking about God, because we definitely, those of us who do believe in our Catholic and Christian, it can be a struggle to be a good moral person. There's lots of temptations in the world, but I just got kind of bored. I mean, no disrespect or anything, it's just, I don't really care about hearing about this guy in his struggles, I mean, I want to plot. I want something to be going on, like, more than just this guy talking to God, I mean, it's great, and it's a beautiful concept, but I need more, and it just kind of bored me, I mean, I'm sorry, but it did, and, I mean, it was one of these things where I was just trying it out. I mean, I probably would be more interested in The Monk. I can't remember the author's name than this one. Because that one at least has a plot and, the characters. I hate to say this, but it's more interesting when the character is a bit more darker and thinks they're good and isn't, like, struggling with, like, the fact that is not someone who's trying so hard to be good and is a good person, but they screw up. It's more interesting with people that don't care, or people that are a little more messed up, And like I said, I need more of a plot. And like I said, I think, and this isn't, again, it's just the guy talking to God and everything, so it just, not for me. Okay, so this one I don't have an answer for, actually, and that's Gravy. What book makes the whole series worth reading? And I struggle getting through series. Like, not that I'm not into them or anything, but sometimes I will put the next book in the series, I will not come to the next book in the series for a long, long time. I mean, there was a time where I probably would read the books all the way through, like Harry Potter, for instance, or, I read all the Lunar Chronicles books, and the Dragonlance books, but Harry Potter's the only one that I probably, and the Lunar Chronicles too. Like, the Dragonlance books I don't remember. I just remember they definitely were inspired by Lord of the Rings with some of their plot points. Which, it's a fun series, by the way, very old fantasy style, but just fun, and like I said, very Lord of the Rings inspired. And I have been tempted to buy the books, but there are so many books in that series, so I would slowly accumulate them over the time. I have seen a few of them at the not at the roast office, but at the Black Castle books when I went there the other day. I did see some of them. They've been there for a while, and I have been tempted to buy them, but there are just so many in the series, and I don't know. I don't remember, but anyway, the series that I finished, I don't remember, like, specific books, and that would make the series worth it, in my opinion. I don't know, I'm just weird like that. But I'm trying to change that. I want to get through series a lot quicker and read more series, especially fantasy books. So I don't have an answer for the Gravy question. Sadly. So, next is, stuffing. What book is stuffed full of action scenes? And I had trouble with this one as well, but I did come up with an answer, and that is the Mistborn series. This represents the whole series. I feel like the whole series is full of action scenes. Although I already know the Way of Kings and the Stormlight Archives probably has even more action scenes than this particular trilogy. but or I guess a series because Brandon Sanderson is writing more books in this world, just at different times in this world. But I felt like that was a bit of a cheat because I haven't finished that book, and I just saw a video of someone talking about that book, and I was like, why do I have to watch that video when that person's talking about reading that book? And they did spoil a few things for me. I mean, it's more character relationship stuff, so it's like second, it's not like huge things, but still it's spoiled a little bit because I kind of had it on in the background while I was watching watching TV. I had that video on while the Hallmark Christmas movie was on. So I got a little spoiled for that. So it just drew me. It's like, I know I have to get back into it. Part of me is hesitant because I'm kind of hoping that for Christmas I will get the first book in that big trade paperback size. But anyway, so a lot of the action scenes involve some really cool things that the characters do. Like in the third book has a lot more war stuff, like characters in the battlefield and all that. The third and the second, and maybe the second book. And this one involves so the whole series is basically, and this one Brandon Sanderson is known for really cool, unique magic systems, and in this one, people swallow metals, and that gives them some kind of power. And there are people in this world that are called Mistings, who they can tap into all metals. They can take in all metals and become super powerful. It's and so it gives them these really cool powers. Like they can jump off in between buildings. They can run really fast. They can throw really fast. They can throw really good. Just really these metals give them really cool powers. So I feel like the whole series has a lot of action scenes. Like the other two books involve a lot of war and fighting scenes, which I would love to see this on screen. And of course I don't play video games, so I'm more into the whole idea of seeing it in a movie or a TV show. And probably a TV show would be better. I mean, I wouldn't say no to a movie because I'm one of those people that will, despite how Hollywood tends to disappoint when it comes to their movie adaptations. I mean, not always, but most times they disappoint. I'm still content with them. I'm still happy to see one because I want the actual visuals. I want to actually see it and not just imagine it in my head, but actually physically see all these cool scenes with the metals and stuff. And considering all the technology we have in making films and stuff, all the things we can do, the special effects, although a lot of people complain about the CGI stuff, so I don't know if they would have to use a lot of CGI. They might have to use it with some of the creatures that are mentioned in the second book, I think, second or third book. Yeah, they're introduced to the second one, and then they bring the third one, which those creatures are so creepy, by the way, just thinking about them, especially when you find out what they are. But yeah, with this whole series is full of a lot of action. Like I said, I imagine that Stormlight Archives has more action than this series, but still the series has a lot of action, but I think Stormlight probably has a little bit more than this one. It's just I have not finished the first book. And maybe, I feel like I should pick it up, but then, like I said, I'm hoping to get, a trade paperback size of the first book for Christmas. But anyway, so that is my scene for books that have a lot of action in it. Okay, so question that's stuffed with a lot of action. Okay, mashed potatoes. What book looked good and then wasn't? And I did not like this because I like mashed potatoes. So I don't like that phrasing because I think mashed potatoes are great, but I get what they're saying. Did I have an answer for this? Okay. I'm always worried about giving classics for answers. And it's not that this was a bad book. It was very well written, and it was, you know, it just wasn't, it was more just that it wasn't for me. And it was kind of boring, you know, and that is The Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo. Because it spends, like, I was raised on the Disney animated movie, you know, and I loved it. I was even into the gargoyles when I was younger. Although I can see Lindsay Ellis's point about the gargoyles, just because, you know, as I've gotten older, which she does a great video essay talking about the Hunchback of Notre Dame. And I think she's, you know, she talks about the stage musical that unfortunately did not really go to on Broadway. Which I would love to see it. I have not seen it. But it was just, I was expecting I did get hints about it, about the original book and how it was different from the animated movie, but it's just, it's more about Paris, the city itself, and in Notre Dame Cathedral. It's like, it doesn't focus as much on Esmeralda and Quasimodo's relationship, or even their connection to Claude Frollo or anything like that. I mean, it's still in there, it still plays a role, but I think it's a secondary plot point to him talking about Paris and how much in the architecture of Paris, because he loves it, you know, which is great, but, you know, it's like, to modern audiences, it doesn't make a great, it's not a good story, it's kind of boring. I mean, there are some people that probably do love it and think it's great, but for me personally, and the person I attempted to buddy read it with, it was not. It was kind of boring and disappointing. I mean, maybe if I read a little bit more of it, maybe I could have gotten into it. I mean, I am reading Moby Dick, which focuses a lot on whaling, so, although it has more of a plot, Moby Dick has more of a plot, and doesn't start the book with talking about whaling, you know, right away. It does, I mean, it does have one chapter where there's clearly a lot of references to the sea and stuff, but it focuses more on the plot of Ishmael, the character of Ishmael, and his journey, and him getting you know, him and his companion, I cannot remember the guy's name, ending up on that boat. So yeah, Hunchback of Notre Dame is my answer for mashed potatoes, even though I do not like what they're saying about mashed potatoes. I love mashed potatoes, I think they're great. Okay, Cranberries. What book has the sweetest romance? And this is one I don't have, but I decided, actually, it might still be in that pile, but it's too late now. I should have looked. It might have been in that pile still. But, Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares, that whole duology, the romance in that one is really sweet, and romantic. It is a little bit of love at first sight, romancy, like, insta-lovey, but the whole duology has a very much of a fairy tale feel to it anyway, and I think in a lot of times fairy tales, that's kind of how it is. Like, the prince sees the beautiful princess and instantly believes himself in love, and she sees him for the first time. She's in love with him and stuff. Which I would love to. I have thought about writing a sort of fairy tale-esque story that isn't love at first sight. You know, like, because I personally like the relationships that start out antagonistic. They're always so much more fun. And probably more realistic. You know, because, I mean, granted, people might believe that they're in love, but they're really not. But yes, Sarai and Laszlo are so cute together and really sweet together, and like, it's nice to see the two of them happy, how they make each other happy, and have these brief glimmers of it, after what they go through, they've been through over the years. It's just really sweet, and which I love, and I love this duology. But I decided I'm gonna get on the audiobook at some point. That's how I listen to the second book, because I won't have to buy it, because, just take up room on my shelf. It's a great duology if you haven't read it yet. Now, I've not read her, Laini Taylor's other series. I know she read another series. I have not read it yet. But Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares was what caught my attention, the plot of that one. But yes, they are so cute. I love that romance. So next is Corn. What's the corniest book you've ever read? And I said The Old Curiosity Shop by Charles Dickens. Which I had a copy of this book, but I don't know if it's my fault or something happened to Wells being delivered to me, because I ordered it off Thrift Books, and normally I would never get rid of Thrift Books, or I have never given rid of a Thrift Books order. But this one was literally flying out of the spine, so I threw it away. So I didn't really give it away, because I was not going to give it to someone else to deal with, so I just threw it away. But I did end up downloading the audiobook for 99 cents, just to have it, because although I guess Libby might have had that one. I don't know. My Libby app might have had that one, but I bought it anyway. And it was only 99 cents. This is about a grandfather and daughter, and this granddaughter, and he is raising his little granddaughter Nell, and he has gambling problems, and he gets into trouble with a financier, and therefore he is going to take away his little shop of antique shop, the old curiosity shop, from him. So he and Nell are forced to flee, and they go from village to village and meet all these different crazy people. And it's a sweet story. It's cute, but it still has that saccharine element that Dickens has in a lot of his books. I still love Dickens. He's one of my favorite authors, of older authors. But there are aspects of it that are really cheesy, and it's a sweet story, it is, but, and I have a soft spot for Nell and her grandfather's relationship, because, especially as someone who was close to both her grandfathers, but it's just like, very eye-rolling, and just, moments. I did like all the secondary characters, and there are aspects of the book that, not just the corniness of it, but there are other aspects that I think people have a problem with, especially with the villain. But yeah, so it's a sweet relationship, but it's also kind of corny at the same time. Okay, so next is Green Beans. Oh, this one I had a lot of trouble with this one. So see, my thing is, with longer books, it takes me forever to read them. But that doesn't mean I think they're too long. It's just, it takes a long time for me to read them, because I get sidetracked by other books. But it's not the book's fault. It's not, it's not the author's fault, necessarily. It doesn't mean it's too long. It just means, I get impatient a little bit. And there were some books that I kept trying to pick a book. There are books that I thought about saying, like The Count of Monte Cristo, Les Miserables, but I wouldn't be able to pinpoint exactly why I think that. Like I could say that I feel like there are things in there that they didn't need to include, but I'm sure, but I don't want to, if someone was like, why do you think that, I probably couldn't make a good argument, because I would have to comb through the book and figure out which scenes, or try to recall them or something. So, I actually picked, I can't remember whose video I watched, but I picked the same answer as the video I watched, Jessie May. It was Jessie May's video. I picked the same answer as her, because it's the best answer I could come up with without having a feeling like worrying that someone will be like, it's not too long. That stuff was necessary, But I picked It by Stephen King, which is one of my favorite Stephen King books, despite the fact that I'm using this as an answer for this particular Thanksgiving question. Because there are a lot of stuff in here that is probably unnecessary. And there's the infamous scene that is almost a turnoff for a lot of people for this book. The infamous, very inappropriate scene with the kids that should not be in there, will never be seen on screen, ever. I will be shocked if it were. Especially because it's not necessarily painted in a this should not happen kind of light. It's painted in a it's part of the ritual of Chud, and it's very weird, and it's like, why did you go in that direction? Why did you do that? Of course, I think he was coked up when he was writing this book, and even I recently heard that even Stephen King feels like this is not his best work. Like, I think he just put he was like being neurotic and probably had a lot of stuff going on in his head and just put everything in this book. Is like when the chef throws a bunch of stuff in a big pot and just mixes it up, and then it ends up being like people end up really loving it, because I know a lot of people love this book, including myself. Which, as you can see, I restarted it when I bought this copy. And it's just like, I have a love-hate opinion. I have a mixed opinion, because I think there were a lot of necessary stuff, but sometimes I wonder, maybe it wasn't unnecessary. Maybe it was necessary so you could get to know the characters. I love this edition, by the way. I like it. I mean, I would have loved to get the movie tie-in edition, but although this was the most recent reprinted edition that I saw, and then there was a movie tie-in edition. So this was the first one in this size that I wanted to get, originally anyway, but I did like the movie tie-in edition too. And I like the typography of his name and the clown smile and everything. But I definitely like it better than the original version that I had. But yeah, there were a lot of things in this probably did not, especially that one infamous scene, should not have been in this book. So you could cut this in half. There's a lot of books you can probably cut in half. A lot of older books that you can probably do that too. Like older than this one, like a lot of classics, But I mean, people got paid. I think people. A lot of authors serialize their books, so it's kind of so it's understandable that they wrote so much more in books. Now, Stephen King, I think it's just more that he was really into writing this book, and maybe he might have been high. Okay, so, what book do you read? Okay, so, Pumpkin Pie. What book do you read to get out of a reading slump? And I picked, there was another question, tag where this was a question, I think, and I picked this answer as well for that one. And then it's Tooth and Claw by Jodie Whittaker. I was about to say Jodie Whittaker. No, Jodie Whittaker is the actress playing the Doctor right now. Although I think she's gonna be done now. Which I feel bad, because I feel like by the sound of her experience was not that great. Not from her ears, but from the standpoint of fans critiquing the writing and stuff, and saying it just was not bad. It was not that great. But anyway, we're not talking about Doctor Who. But by Joe Walton. And first, I just love looking at this book, because it's so cute with this hardback book with it's a pocket size. But anyway, this is basically Pride and Prejudice with dragons. Although in my opinion, it's more than just Pride and Prejudice. I feel like it's Regency literature with dragons. And it's despite the fact, for me personally, I feel like it's very fast paced. I mean, it's not like fast paced like a thriller fast paced, or even but it's fast paced. Like, I got through this really quickly, and it's just a really a really cute, sweet story, and it has dragons in it, and it's really fun, and I feel like it would be good. I think it'll be, I do want to reread at some point, and I feel like it would be a good way to get me out of a reading slump. Now, I can see what people would also say. Reread old favorites too would be a good idea. So Jane Eyre would be another one, or a Harry Potter book would be another good option too for me personally. Because I still love Harry, despite J.K. Rowling and her stupid comments, her insensitive comments. I still hold Harry Potter in my heart. And so but I just picked this one because I think I would. I mean, although I have not experienced that before, I mean, I mostly just, I might spend so much time reading a book that I decide, when I'm done with it, to, instead of jumping into the next book, I might go watch TV or something, but that's the closest I have to. But granted, I don't know if you would call that a slump or not. But, so, I'm gonna guess this one. Well, maybe we'll find out one day. I mean, I hope not, but maybe we will find out one day. Okay, so the last question is not a book related answer, but dog or cat? What's your favorite Thanksgiving food that you want to steal from the table? My dogs don't have to steal it. We would accidentally drop it. And I said, in answer to that one question about mashed potatoes, saying, "Oh, it looks good, but it's a disappointment," or "It looks good, but," what was it? What was it you said? What book looked good and then wasn't? Because I totally disagree with that. So I said mashed potatoes is one option, something I would steal. But also, I love my mom's mac and cheese. I love mac and cheese, especially when it's the big fat noodles, not the thin noodles, but the fat noodles. I don't like the thin noodles. I mean, I'll still eat it, but when I'm like, if we have it, if it's what we got, because it still tastes the same. But I prefer the thicker noodles because there's more. They're thicker and they have more. So yeah, I would steal the mac and cheese, and I would steal the mashed potatoes. So that is the Thanksgiving book tag. If you celebrate Thanksgiving, feel free, to do this tag. It's a fun little tag, and I hope you are enjoying your reading and staying safe. And if you like this video, please give a thumbs up. Click subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell notification below to see when I post new videos. And I will talk to you all later. Bye!